achieve Amrit, please declare a truce. And Krishna tells the Devatas that sometimes if your time is not right, Sarva Kala Kritam Manye, it is all due to inevitable time. If your time is not favorable to you, then you must work even with those who are not favorable to you. Very often that happens in our life. But when we have to work with those who are not favorable with us, it is actually a boon. Why? It makes us grow in our tolerance. It makes us understand bhutai akramyamano api, that other people who harass us are themselves harassed by the material modes of nature. So you can't really blame them. You can't blame the demons for being demons. Why? Because they have demonic nature. They are demons. They are in that mood, right? They are in passion. So very easy for them to be caught by passionate things. But the Devatas are in the mood of sattvic mood. So they are not caught up by so much passion. But Krishna told them, you have to work together. So if the demons and the devotees sometimes must work together, how much more devotees must work with each other? Unless you consider the person next to you a demon, that's a different story. But if you consider the Prabhu or Mataji next to you, you can turn now and look who is next to you. If you consider them demon, then even then, you have to declare a truce. And you have to work together, right? But if you know your devotees, then all the more reason we have to work together. So this is a very important thing. Krishna didn't want the Devatas just to remain in their positions. He wanted them to increase and to become better devotees. And that is why he told them, please work together. So the Devatas, to work together, what must you give up? To work together, the greatest difficulty you have to give up is your pride. It is actually pride that stops one person from working with the other. Because it is sometimes pride that I don't like who he is because I know better than him. Pride sometimes comes because we think we know a better way of doing and the other person doesn't know, so why should I work with that person? And if we give up our pride, then we can work together. So the Devatas, it was a very humbling experience for the Devatas to be told by Krishna, first declare truce, and second, go and approach the demons. It's not that the demons must approach you. You go and approach the demons. Very often when we fight, we wait for the other party to approach us and say, Prabhu, I'm very sorry. When we hear someone telling, Prabhu, I'm very sorry, then I have maintained my pride. Now you have come to me, Haribol. It's okay. I'm very magnanimous now. But for us to go to someone, oh, it's very difficult. I have taken a stand on that person, hard stand. Now, because of my pride, I cannot shift my stand. Actually, it is not a devotional mentality. It is a demonic mentality, actually. Because demons never move from their position. Did Kamsa ever move from his position? Did Hiranyakashipu move from his position? Did Hiranyaksha move from his position? Did Ravana move from his position, despite good counsel and advice? No, none of them moved from their position. Did Parikshit Maharaj move from his position where he garlanded Shamika Rishi and thought he was right in doing that? Did he shift his position? He did. In a blinking moment as he walked away, immediately he repented. Immediately he repented. You see? Chitraketu Maharaj, after laughing at Lord Shiva with Parvati on his lap, did he shift his position when he was cursed by Parvati? He got down and he said, my dear mother, I accept what you say because you're right. You see? So the Devatas were actually fanned by Krishna to improve and accelerate their character, their behavior. This is very important. That's why in this purport, Prabhupada says a very important point. He says, Falena parichiyate. This is something Prabhupada quoted very often. If you want to know the result, one's success or defeat in any activity is understood by its results. We cannot escape the fact that if our inner devotional mentality is right, eventually it must show. It must show. Sometimes people ask, just 2 days ago we were talking about the essence of devotional mentality being more important than an external performance. But now in this shloka, Prabhupada is saying that the Devatas and the demons, they had the same goal, the same purpose, same ambition. Externally, they all appear to be the same. But one achieved one result and the other didn't. Why was that the case? They achieved a better result because internally they had accepted Krishna. But because internally they had accepted Krishna's instruction, it eventually would show externally. That is why phalena parichiyate. If you're doing nice sadhana, if you're really wanting to serve Srila Prabhupada, then even though you may not be perfect in so many ways, eventually because of your devotional service, your activities will inspire others. It will inspire others. If despite doing so much of nice sadhana, but your activities are very grating, they grate people, people can only last with you for a little while. After that, Haribol, I can't take this person anymore. Then that externality is a reflection of who you are. That is what Prabhupada is saying here. And that's why this verse is important. Because the Devatas and the demons were put in a similar situation. But the Devatas declared truth first. By their ability to accept Krishna's instruction, right? They internalized the instruction of Krishna and then they acted on it. They acted on it. So this is where our internal essence of devotional mentality and our external behavior, this is the junction. This is the Sangam. The Sangam is when you accept what Krishna says in Shastra, when you accept what our spiritual master says, when you accept what sadhus say, and you act on it, that acceptance transforms into action. What is it? Phalena parichiyate. That's what it means. The result, fruit of your work is seen by everyone. That's why you cannot hide a devotee for long. Devotee cannot remain hidden for long. Eventually one day somebody will ask someone, Prabhu, nobody is here, can you sing? And suddenly we have the best kirtan singer in the world. Maharaj said for so many years reading Bhagvatam just under that pillar. And everyone thought this Mahavishnu Das, Vanachari, is very helpful as a retiree. He sometimes washes some dishes. Deity dishes he will wash. Some deity paraphernalia he will wash. He couldn't wash plates because his legs were always swollen and the water running would swell his legs more. He couldn't walk up and down Soho Street rickety stairs because it was difficult for him. So never mind. In his retirement mode, you just sit in the corner, Mahavishnu Das, and you just read Bhagavatam. And so Maharaj read Bhagavatam and people every day took classes and he heard, and they took classes and he heard. And one day, the temple president had no one to call because everybody was not available. And they said, Mahavishnu, you are sitting there. Can you come and take a class? And the president later told Maharaj that when I asked you to take the class, it was just stopgap measure. I thought, let him say something and let the class go on. But by the time Maharaj finished the class, Maharaj himself told me, from their faces, I thought they had died and gone to Swargaloka. Because they look so happy. It's like someone just woke up. Who is this person? Who spoke like this? This is what Maharaj said. Maharaj said, Devkinandan, I saw their faces. It was like they died and they went to Swargaloka. Because so many years I seen them came to Soho Street, but they never looked so happy. But after the class, they became very happy. So this is phalena parichiyate. Finally, the essence of a devotee's devotional mentality like Maharaj eventually must bear fruit. Phalena, it must bear fruit. And when it came to bear fruit, nothing could stop it. It was seen immediately by people. Everyone could recognize it. The only people who cannot recognize the greatness of a devotee is a demon. Is a demon. So if we cannot recognize the greatness of a devotee, then actually we still have very strong demonic, envious mentality in our hearts, you see. So Krishna became pleased with the Devatas because they approached the demons to declare the truth. And they acted on his instructions. When you act on someone's instruction, then it is an externality. That's why it is stated that the Devatas are devotees of the Lord. Why? Because they know that if they act on Krishna's instructions, they have firm faith. They really have firm faith that Krishna is actually their well-wisher. Krishna is actually their well-wisher. So this point must be very clear, that yes, a devotee has essentially a devotional mentality. And sometimes when a devotee is not able to show, Krishna still accepts it. But by and large, when a devotee follows Krishna's instruction, then even though the devotee and someone could be in the same place, many people came to Soho Street Temple, many people gave Bhagavatam classes. Maharaj also sat down there and read Bhagavatam. But one person achieved one result and the other person achieved another result. You see? Two people may be coming to clean the temple today in Radha Nila Madhav Dham. One could be doing it grudgingly because Vaishnava Seva Prabhu said, Prabhu, you have to do it. He did it. But someone could have heard Vaishnava Seva Prabhu saying it and become inspired. Yes, what he's saying is what Maharaj is saying. This is what Krishna is saying. So I'm going to do it. Phalena parichiyate. The place is the same, the purpose is the same, the ambition is the same, but the result is very different. Because one person has embraced it, the other is averse to it. You see the point? So this is very important. The essence of the churning of the milk ocean is not just that the Lord favored the devotees. It's because the devatas heard Krishna. And they heard him based on their love and faith and devotion. And their love for Krishna was tested after the Amrit came out. Dhanvantari comes out with the Amrit. And at that point in time, Krishna has already told them, right, this is what you want. But Krishna told them, when Amrit comes, do not be in a hurry to get it. Do not be in a hurry to get it. That's a bit of a scary kind of instruction, you know. You know, it's like when you come someplace, it is there, but don't be in a hurry to get it. Wait. So the devatas were anxious because when the demons saw Amrit, they jumped on it. Demons have no discipline. They just jump on something. You know, that's why sometimes Maharaj said, when you honor prasad, don't eat, like a pig. Like you can't wait, Have some discipline. It's very important. So the demons jumped on Amrit. And who was left? The devatas were left. And imagine how anxious they were. Because I don't know how big or how much Amrit was there in that big jar, Maharaj, when he gave this pastime, he said, for all you know, the jar was very big, but Amrit was this little, which means everything would be finished, you see. So the devatas were anxious, but they remembered what Krishna said, that when Amrit comes, do not be in a hurry to get it. And even if the demons get it, do not take anything. Wait. And so they waited to pull the brakes. When you see something that was your hard work going away, is very difficult. Very difficult. Sometimes when we do a project in Krishna consciousness, or we take up a service, and suddenly for some reason the service has to go, we feel bad because I invested. I put in so much time. I built this up. I built the yatra up. I built this. I built that. But at the end of the day, are we demonic because we are attached to it? Or are we divine because we are offering it to Krishna? It's very important. Viraj Prabhu built up a wonderful group of devotees in Sydney. They are known as Vaman Kshetra, right? And if you've been there and you've seen them, and some of them have come here, you'll know that their quality of their behavior is so refined. He spent so many years, so much of blood and sweat. In fact, Purna Kushal Mataji, I have seen them, how much they've sacrificed to open their house, to open their time. So much cooking Mataji would do, never stop cooking, just to create and cultivate them. And at the end of the day, right, when they had to leave Sydney and go to Brisbane, it was not that, Viraj Prabhu was going to bring Vaman Kshetra with him. He didn't do that. Yes, he went back like a kind father of a yatra to make sure everything is going on. But he was looking forward. This is how we should be. When Maharaj built Dwarka, the moment he finished temple opening afternoon, Vaishnava Seva Prabhu and I were told, what is the next ticket to take? What time does the train go to Rajkot? And I was thinking in my head, Maharaj, give me a break. Just finished. Let me relax a bit, But no relaxing. And he was ready to leave. He never came back and sat down in Dwarka like he did before. He just sat down. That's it. And I guarantee you, if this temple was built and Maharaj was physically present, he is present here. But if he was physically present, after finishing Rajkot, I think he would have caught Vaishnava Seva Prabhu and told him, now you leave Rajkot. Don't be here now. And probably go somewhere else. He would have done that. He would have done that. And that is very important. Phalena parichiyate. If you have a spirit of detachment and your spirit of devotion is there and you follow Krishna consciousness, it will show. That is what Prabhupada is trying to say. And that's why even though two people may be put in the same situation, they achieve different results. They achieve different results. This point was very nicely connected by Maharaj to another important verse that we want to look at before we end our time together. In the 7th canto, 1st chapter, 9th verse, 719. Very nicely, these points are put forward by Shukadev Goswami. This is the chapter where it is nicely put that the Supreme Lord is equal to everyone. He is equal to everyone. People think that Krishna favored the Devatas and not the demons in the churning of the milk ocean. Actually, it's not true. Actually, it's not true. Because when you read the churning of the milk ocean, Krishna favored everyone. Because he wanted everyone collectively to achieve Amrit. So when the demons, for example, right, came and they were ready to churn the milk ocean, what did they do? They waited for the rope. And Vasuki, the king of the serpents, came. And Sumeru, the mountain that they were supposed to carry, they carried halfway and they dropped. And Krishna had to come and lift Mount Sumeru and help them there. Once he placed Mount Sumeru very nicely into the water, and then what did he do? Vasuki came, Garuda left. Then what happened? Krishna came in front and all the Devatas came with him and they were at the head of Vasuki. Now the demons came to them and said, you all should not be at the head. We are very qualified Brahmanical people. The demons. They said, we are very qualified, we are Brahmanical, we know so many shlokas, we are doing Gayatri every day, so we are very high class. You all are nothing. So we will be at the head and you will be behind. Now, if you were to have such a situation, I were to have such a situation, I may oppose. I may think, what is this? This is not fair. We were here first, right? We were here first. Krishna was there. Did he object? No, he didn't. Krishna just showed by his performance of activity, by his behavior, phalena parichiyate, he behaved in such a way that he walked away. All right, you want the head, you take the head. We'll go and take the tail. In the end, taking the head was a disaster. It was a disaster. Because Vasuki couldn't keep quiet. Vasuki began emanating so much poison, so much fume, that who got it first? The demons got it first. Very smart, want to go to the front. In the end, it was really on their face, and the Devatas were behind just holding the tail. So, when one acts as a devotee, that devotional activity, right? From that devotional activity, we can come to know if a person is favored by Krishna. This is very important point. So the Devatas, the demons were given a chance to be favored by Krishna. That's why he went forward. He thought, I'll give welfare to the demons, you all go and stand behind. But instead of that, you don't want my mercy. So the argument given by Shukadev Goswami, right, is that Krishna is always giving his mercy to everyone. But how we receive it will be defined by whether we behave demonically or we behave in a divine manner. This is the difference. And so in 719 it is nicely stated, Jyoti Radhi Riva Bhati Sanghatam Na Vivichyate Vidanti Atmanam Atmastam Matitva Kavayo Antataha. The translation is very nice. And this is one verse that sometimes, Maharaj would make us, he made me read this purport at least 3 times in my lifetime with him. He made me read this 3 times and he liked the purport very much. And it always came whenever there were issues in the congregation. Whenever there were issues in the congregation, Maharaj would go back to this verse. Today I understand why he went back. Try to hear the translation. The all-pervading Supreme Personality of Godhead exists within the heart of every living being. And an expert thinker can perceive how he is present to a large or small extent. How? Just as one can understand the supply of fire in wood, the water in water pot or the sky within a pot, one can understand whether a living entity is a demon or demigod by understanding that living entity's devotional performances. Very straightforward. And look at the last line. A thoughtful man, Maharaj made me repeat this many times, a thoughtful man can understand how much a person is favored by the Supreme Lord by seeing his actions. By seeing his actions. Phalena parichiyate. By seeing his actions. You see now the link between 8.9.28 and 7.19. The link is, this verse tells us, right? It supports the proposition that actually we must be thoughtful in our approach to seeing the devotees and even the living entities. This is first takeaway. This is a very important quality of a devotee, to be thoughtful. Don't just anyhow rashly conclude upon a devotee's character. Do not rashly conclude on any living entity's character. Not just a devotee, but any living entity. Because the Supreme Personality of Godhead exists within the heart of every living entity. He does. And He's very equal to everyone. Come back to the ocean, of the churning of the ocean. What did He do? When the Devatas became tired and the demons became tired, right? And Vasuki also became tired. That's why all the poisons started coming out. What did Krishna do? Krishna, as the 1,000-handed form, He came on top and He churned. But before that, He became Kurma avatar. And imagine the size of Kurma. 88 miles is the breadth of the ocean. How long, how big must the tortoise be? How big was the shell of Kurmadev? Huge. And even though Mount Sumeru is so big and heavy, Bhagavatam tells us that as Krishna, the Kurma churned Sumeru mountain, it was like feeling a nice itching sensation on your back, Have you all felt that before? Like now if I want to do this, it feels very nice, because behind, you have this sensation. My father, sometimes he would stand at the pillar or some corner of the house and he would just scratch himself while talking to my mother. It used to irritate my mother. What are you doing, scratching your back and talking to me? But he told me it was such a pleasing sensation, talking about unpleasant things. That was what he said. So, same thing. Kurma Dev felt so much sensation. But he was assisting the Devatas and the demons. He was doing that. And on top of that, when they became very tired, and still they were tired, he sent fresh rain and fresh breeze to help them. Both. He didn't send rain pouring on only this side. Sometimes you see in some parts of the world, this side of the field is raining, that side is not raining. But Krishna poured the rain for everyone. Then he entered into the heart of Vasuki in the mode of ignorance to encourage him. He entered into the heart of the demons in the mode of passion to encourage them. And he entered into the heart of the Devatas in the mode of goodness to encourage them. He did not only take care of his kind. No, it's not that. We may be one kind, Swajati. In Bhagavatam it is Swajati. But a Vaishnava's heart is so big, any kind he is ready to take care of. This is what we must be thoughtful about. This is the thoughtfulness of a devotee. That we don't only look and see Krishna in devotees. Take care. Trivandrum Yatra ki. Patita Pavan Prabhu, Mataji's, Kathamrit Prabhu, we will miss your smile. Very happy to see everyone. Hare Krishna. Prabhu, thank you, Sundar Prabhu, for coming, joining us, and for sharing that most amazing realization yesterday. We'll never forget now 3 things that the Lord looks to Garuda, and 3 wonderful services, Very nice. Thank you, Prabhu. And thank you to all the devotees who came. Krishna willing, we hope that all of us from Rajkot and everywhere, we should now descend into Trivandrum and have a nice program at your center also. Hare Krishna. Krishna Ashray Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Damodar Prabhu. Thank you very much for your wonderful kirtans also. Thank you very much. Take care. Have a safe trip. Maharaj will definitely be happy to see you. You have some prasadam? Okay. Take care. Hare Krishna. So you can see that Krishna was so kind that he took care of everyone. So that's why in 719 it is stated that when our devotional service is nice, then one result of our devotional service is we become thoughtful. We are considerate. We pull the brakes and we look around us and we can understand how someone's devotional service is. It is not that we are judging. There's a difference. We are thoughtful. We are not criticizing. We are thoughtful. A thoughtful person looks at others and is always favorable to them. A critical person or judgmental person looks at others and is always critical of them. You see the difference? So a thoughtful person is always looking out for someone, looking for their actions, how to serve them. But a thoughtful person can also understand by a devotee's behavior how much that devotee is favored by the Lord. So Bhagavatam tells us that it's not very difficult to see how great a devotee is. And we have seen in our last few days together, you have all observing each other. I'm sure you can see, you're all thoughtful, that a devotee is defined very often by their actions. You may speak so much Bhagavatam, but the moment you speak, after you finish speaking, you act in a certain way which goes against Bhagavatam, then how can you be considered to be phalena parichiyate? Because you're not externalizing what you should be. It should follow. So this is a very important point. And Bhagavatam tells us, Maharaj said, that it's not very difficult to understand this. 3 examples are given in this shloka. One can understand the supply of fire in wood. What does it mean? In the purport, Prabhupada says, to the extent that the wood is being burnt, to that extent you know how much fire is there. It's very simple. Second example, to the extent that there is water, right, you can define, you can know now how big the water pot is just simply by if you keep pouring water, you know the size of the pot, right? You know the size of the pot. So this is another point. And the third point is, by seeing the size of the pot, one knows how much of the sky is in the pot. So Maharaj was trying to point out that every one of his example is a very external example. But it shows you that it is the mentality of the devotee that is driving how our actions are. Whatever that is inside must be expressed outside eventually. This is a very important point. That's why in the purport, Prabhupada says this very nice point, and I wanted to share it with you. This is not very difficult to understand when we see that someone is performing nice devotional service. However, Prabhupada says, envious people that do not accept that Krishna has bestowed his favor on another devotee, they cannot understand the devotee's advanced position because of our envy in our hearts. The demons could not understand the mercy of Krishna, that he was helping them. They never were grateful to him, never could understand that because of their envious nature. Envious nature. The devatas were willing to have a truce with the demons because by nature they are not envious, because they are devotees. That's why they were ready to follow Krishna and they were ready to call truce. They shook hands with Bali Maharaj. This same Bali, would eventually throw them out. Again, in 8th chapter, in 8th canto, they shook hands with him. They shook hands. So it shows you that a devotee's nature is not envious. And by proper judgment, because you don't have envy in your heart, you will then have proper judgment. And Prabhupada writes there, by proper judgment, one can see who is a devata or demigod and who is an asura, yaksha or rakshasa, according to the qualities of sattva gun, rajogun and tamogun. One cannot judge whether a person is a devata, an asura or a rakshasa by seeing him. But a sane man can understand this by the activities that a person performs. You see the difference? Just by seeing someone we don't know. But the moment they act, we know. We know that demons were demons because when Amrit came, they acted. How did they act? They jumped on Dhanvantari and they caught hold of the nectar and they just walked away with it. And even though they had nectar, Bhagavatam tells us they fought with each other. And that is why, because they were envious and fighting with each other, Krishna found a weak spot. And what did he do? He then manifested himself as Mohini Murti. You see? But the Devatas, see how they acted. They acted by not jumping. They acted by remembering Krishna, remembering his instructions. And therefore, Prabhupada writes here that a devotee of the Lord can be understood by a sane man by his activities. By his activities. So we should understand this very important point as we leave today from Rajkot, some of us anyway. That one, phalena parichiyate. We may be in the same place, we may be in the same hall, we may be in the same dress, but we may have two different results. And the result is very often because of our devotional performance. It's because of our devotional mentality. And a thoughtful person can see a devotee, and by that person's action, we come to know how great that person is. Or if that person is not so great, at least we come to know the level of that person without judging the person. And instead of judging the person, when someone we know is not up to the mark, we serve them. We serve them. That's the value of being thoughtful. When you're thoughtful, you not only can see a great devotee for who he is or she is, but you can also serve those who are in need of service. In both ways, you are actually helping to distribute the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Krishna is really equal to everyone. But ye yata mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham. We must understand that according to our behavior as asura or devata, in the same place, in the same purpose, in the same course of time, with the same ambition and the same goal, can be very different. Very different. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagvatam ki. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki. Srila Mahavishnu Goswami Gurudev ki. Nitai Gaura Premanande. Are there any questions, any comments? Yes, Culture Prabhu. Prabhu is saying this phrase phalena parichiyate is often used in the way that we produce certain results. How many books sold, right? And other things. How many classes, yeah, you know, how many garlands you get in a day, things like that, right? Yeah. Yes, Prabhu. Yes, yes. Yes, very true. This point that Kalchakar Prabhu brought up is very important. This phalena, the fruit, right, actually comes from within. That is how naturally it manifests itself. Do you know that a fruit becomes ripe from within? It never becomes ripe from without. Without, the fruit is always unripe. But the ripeness begins from within. But when it is in the process of being ripe, Maharaj said, it still tastes very bad. If you taste it at the point when it's not ripe, unripe mango, it's not, doable. You can't taste it. But the ripeness is starting already. And when it finally exhibits itself, phalena, then the ripeness is there. Then everyone who not just sees the mango, but they taste the mango, then they can tell that, oh, this is very nice. Of course, by seeing, we know it is ripened, but the real thing is actually in the taste. So we may distribute so many books, but the taste of the distribution of the book is actually what we are looking for. That is phalena parichiyate. You may distribute 100 books, but maybe temple president is sitting on your head and you have to do it. Or you may distribute so many books, or little books, but the books you are distributing, you are internally, right, praying to Srila Prabhupada, depending on Krishna, and then you are distributing books. That is phalena parichiyate. And a thoughtful man can see that in that devotee. Because you will see the bliss of that devotee in the performance of his devotional activities. Yes, Prabhu. Book distribution. Sorry? Yes. It's on. Yes. Very true, Prabhu. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. 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 Yeah. That's very important. That's why do not be discouraged in your devotional service. Every devotee has a direct relationship with Krishna. And Krishna is so kind that he never compares two devotees. That's the other thing Maharaj told me. He said the difference between living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the great devotees is they never compare two people. They never compare. Each devotee, each personality stands on their own merit. They stand on their own merit. Maharaj told me, like a wise father, that you should never compare your children. Never. He said, in my lifetime, I never compared my children. Each of them stood on their own. Never say, see, your brother did this, see, your sister did that. Maharaj said, don't. Imagine if I was Guru, Maharaj said, and two disciples were in front of me, and I said, see, look at this disciple of mine, how nice he's doing, what are you doing? You'll become very discouraged. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is directing each living entity according to his own merit, according to his own samskars, according to his own karmas, and according to his own devotional purity. So that becomes very important. So devotional performance and action, right, it must be viewed from a thoughtful point of view, not a discriminatory point of view, not a derogatory point of view. That's how we inspire congregations, right? Vaishnava Prabhu has inspired a whole new generation. We heard them yesterday, Path, Shreya, all these devotees, It's amazing, right? The younger devotees who joined us previously and who have now come up, Shraddhavan and all of them, they never really spent time with Maharaj, hardly. And the new ones never even saw Maharaj. But their devotional activities have become so sublime, so nice, because the leadership is encouraging them. And they are fanning their fires according to their propensity. That is what we should do. That is what we should. That is the meaning of being thoughtful. Thank you, Kalcha Prabhu. Viraj Prabhu, something.
Thank you very much for such a nice and thoughtful class. I'd like to take this opportunity especially to thank Vice President Prabhu, especially who cultivated the new generation of devotees here on behalf of Maharaj. And also yourself, Prabhu, for the very sublime leadership. Once Maharaj, when he was speaking to me, he said to me, all my disciples have some faults, but Devki has the least faults. Of course, when I thought it's a negative way of looking at it, but what actually my answer was, of course, tonight, that Devki is very competent, and we can see the results and how different congregations across the world, not just locally, have been inspired by your preaching. And there's no doubt, therefore, why Maharaj, in his will, had left that those people who be the ultimate authority after Maharaj, that disciples can look up to. Although I know you had mentioned that Maharaj said to you that I cannot actually comprehend why it was Maharaj. With that, I consider myself very, very struggling always. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
And as always, without referring to Bhagvatam, is never complete. There is one verse, the episode of Mount Devkinandan, that's very difficult on which most of us, I think, are reading today. So when they are face to face with Krishna, and they offer a very nice set of prayers, now before leaving, they say this very nice prayer, asking for permission to leave. So also we should, before leaving, be thoughtful as to how these last 4 or 5 days has been inspiring to us. And also we should take some resolution in our heart. This is how I will try to change myself, reform myself, better, that what I am now, next year, should be better. And we can approach the meetings and say this prayer. Please be done. Anujani no bhuman,
Anujani hiro bhuman,
Anujani no bhuman,
Anujami bhuman.
So they address Krishna as the great one, not Bhuman. And they say Anujani. Anujani means, please give us permission to leave. Now we are leaving. And they don't stop there, but they say, Tavano Kinkaro.
Sarvato hi kinkaro.
They say to Krishna, we are not your servants. We are servants of your Anuja. And here they are referring to Narada. And in our case, we are referring to our beloved Gurudev, Swami Goswami. That we address the Lord, oh Lord, we are actually kinkaro of your Anuja, Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj. Please regard us as that. Because due to His mercy only, Darshano Bhagavata.
Darshano no Bhagavata.
Due to only His mercy, we are able to have darshan of your Lordship, Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, Radharani, Shishya, Neelamataji, Rama, Ramavara, Rama. Just imagine if Maharaj did not install these wonderful deities along with Shri Nrsimhadev Maharaj, where we would all go. Darshano Bhagavata.
Darshano no Bhagavata.
Darshano Bhagavata.
Darshano no Bhagavata.
Rishivasit Anugraha.
Rishidasit Anugraha.
Rishivasit Anugraha.
Rishidasit Anugraha.
It is only due to the Anugraha of Maharaj that we are able to see the Lordship. Not only that, to hear such nice, wonderful pastimes in Katha through the nectarian lips of Devki Prabhuji, who Maharaj fully blessed and invested in this. So let's live to come together with greater enthusiasm. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, yes, Prabhu. Prabhu, the quote, can you give us a citation, right?
Unlike Devki Prabhu, I'm not a lawyer, so I cannot quote, but I'll look up and
You look up and tell us, Prabhu. Yeah, it's in the prayers. Because it's a beautiful verse. It's a beautiful
It's
verse.
in the 10th chapter of 10th canto, None Prayer Manili, on the last few days.
Sorry? Someone said something? 10:10:37, Jai. 10:10:37. Pavik Prabhu? How to throw away the laziness in spiritual life?
Not regarding spiritual, but sometimes
Everything.
coming spiritual, we felt laziness towards material.
Oh, okay. In other words, I'm in the temple now and I don't want to go to office. Actually, when that happens, Maharaj told us that we should be very sure to take care of our duties very well, Prabhu. And we have to fight the laziness. You have to ignore the mind that will tell you, you have become devotee. You don't have to work, everything will be fine. But you can't do that. If you really want to be a devotee, then tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyacha. You have to do things at the same time. Working is devotional service. Because we come to devotional service, very often we consider our office and our work as not devotional. But actually, every time we are doing our work nicely, expertly, that work is devotional service. Every time a mother is expertly taking care of a family, that is devotional service. Every time a father has to take care of his sons and daughters, that is devotional service. So we cannot neglect it, Prabhu. If you try to neglect it and you just want to do devotional service, then it is a very subtle form of sense gratification. Because ultimately you want to do what you want to do. And that is very dangerous. So laziness is very, very dangerous. Sometimes laziness to come to hear Bhagavatam is also a disease. We have to be very careful. I asked Maharaj, I'm very sleepy every morning because, I spend in the night, I have to do work, I finish late. So sometimes morning to sit down to hear Bhagavatam class is very tiring, very sleepy. So Maharaj gave me a good solution. He said, if you're very sleepy in the morning to hear Bhagavatam classes, right, you should prepare and take Bhagavatam classes. Because when you take Bhagavatam classes, no matter how sleepy you are, you have to stay awake. You have to stay awake. And today is one example. I'm actually very sleepy. If I sat there, I would have slept. But I was grateful I had to prepare because I have no choice but to stay awake, you see. And I'm talking so much because the moment I stop, I think I will sleep. So this is the greatness. Is that helpful, Bhavik Prabhu? Don't worry, you are managing very well. Bhavik is such an example. He is going to work, he is coming here. No one thinks he is actually working. Mangalarati without fail, and he's working. So how can you say you're lazy? You're not. But I know you're asking for others who are lazy. So that's it. It's for you. Okay, fine. I think that's basic. Yes, Prabhu, you had something? Yes. Sure. Yeah, very good point. Sometimes there are devotees whose actions are also very pure, but somewhere something is not right. And the actions may be good for a while, but then other actions are not good also. But we don't see those actions, right, Prabhu? We see the ones that are external, you see. So how to understand? Is that your question, Prabhu? Actually, why is it after some time you feel that it is not correct? Because you have seen some action of his which is not correct. So you see, you can only pretend for a while, but somebody cannot pretend all the time. Eventually, the real result of his devotional service must come out. Must come out. No one can cheat Krishna forever. There's a saying in the material world, you can't fool everyone always. You can fool someone sometimes, but you can't fool someone always. So sometimes a devotee may look very pakka, and we are very inspired by them. But suddenly after a while, their actions are not correct. So then we come to know that actually, whatever that they were doing, as Prabhupada writes in Bhagavatam, don't make a show of devotional service. This is the point. You are now bringing up another important concept into this concept. Finally, your actions will show, but don't make a show of your actions. Is it easy now? Your actions will show, but don't make a show of your actions. Because if you make a show of your actions, eventually you can't sustain. The truth will come out. But if your action is very honest and pure, your actions will show. It won't be a show, but it will just show. Thank you, Prabhu, for bringing that up. Very important. Jai Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Srila Prabhupada ki. Srila Mahavishnu Goswami Gurudev ki. Ananta Gauri Vaishnavrinda ki. Nitai Gaura Premanande. We want to thank His Holiness Srila Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj for always being so kind and loving to us. We want to thank Vaishnava Seva Prabhu, who has so lovingly opened this door of Rajkot, and because of his loving nature has inspired so many devotees to come forward to serve Maharaj. We want to thank all the devotees today who have come from all the different parts of the world. All your sacrifices, your time, and so much that you spent, energy to be here. We really appreciate it. We thank you from Singapore, from New Zealand, from India, and even those from Rajkot who came from your house. We also appreciate you. We also appreciate you. And it's very nice to see Purna Kushal Mataji, and it's very nice to see Mukund. Very happy to see you, Prabhu. I realize now that, all boys your age have the same hairstyle. Whether they're in Singapore or they are in Australia, it doesn't matter. That is what we call the meeting of the hearts and the minds, Gives me great encouragement. I look at Gopal's hair that way, and Arjun's hair, and Mukund's hair, but I forget, when I met Maharaj and I look at the photos, my hair was just as bad, or just as good. At that time I thought the hair was good, But how Maharaj tolerated all that, We used to greet Maharaj in the worst looking dresses, no dhoti, no kurta, no tilak, looking like hooligans we would receive Maharaj. But Maharaj was so kind to us, just took care of us. We said we couldn't eat something. Maharaj said just pack sandwich, go to school, it's okay. We said we had to go to army. Maharaj said it's okay, army is very good. You know why? Because if you're out on the street, you will commit a crime. He must have seen the way we looked and thought we'll be criminals. So better you be in the army and you won't commit crime. So in every difficulty, he saw something good. And slowly, he told us, okay, now put on nice dhoti, kurta, tilak. Okay, after a while, the hair fell very naturally. So whether you have or you don't have, it's not going to make a difference. And everything became very fine. So don't judge the person next to you. That's what I'm trying to say, right? See the devotees for their actions. Don't see them, right, from the face of judgment. Hare Krishna. Yes. Swayam Spurti